Oh boy. It's Nick Kypreos time, baby, because today what we're doing is we're going over onto sportsnet.ca and reading Real Kyper's Trade Board 2.0. Tight races and interesting UFAs. This, of course, is going to be linked in the description alongside of all the other links you need, like the ExpressVPN affiliate link. The show is brought to you by Express, and you can go out there and get yourself some free months on your VPN if you use our affiliate link. However, this article will be there as well for your viewing pleasure in the description, so go out there and read it if you want to see the latest of everything Kyper has to say. But of course, you can already tell from the title and from the thumbnail that this is a really, really big one. Kypreos pulls no punches here, and it's all at the very beginning of the article. He dives into the various trade situations around the NHL, and then he says this about the Vancouver Canucks. They're locked in a playoff spot battle with, among others, the Calgary Flames and rookie sensation Dustin Wolf, who are stalling teams that are ready to advance trade discussions with them as well. Calgary's involvement in the race helps us move Rasmus Andersson's name off the board this month, but Nazem Kadri remains for now. With New York already moving captain Jacob Trouba to the Ducks in early December, their spotlight has shifted straight to Mika Zibanejad and in JT Miller. Meantime, the Canucks, who finished first in the Pacific Division last year, are considering trading Miller, Petey, and Brock Boeser. Holy crap, it's the entire 649 line. Oh boy. Alright, let's go into the individual lists, the actual graphics that are posted, and the write-ups into each of these players, because the top two guys are indeed those two. It's Pettersson and Miller, baby. Okay, so what exactly does Kypreos have to say here? Let's dive into the Elias Pettersson write-up. When Pettersson was a pending free agent last season, his name was appearing in trade rumors as he was still not signed into February. That bit of pressure led to the Canucks and Pettersson coming to an agreement of an 8-year, $92.8 million contract in March, 6 days before the trade deadline. The 24-25 season is the first year of that deal, and the only one that doesn't have a full no-movement clause attached to it, which has again kicked up trade speculation. When GM Patrick Allvin spoke to Ian McIntyre last month, he said he believed in Pettersson and that he was a number one center. He also didn't slam the door on trade talks, saying, "Is a trade possible?" I guess I would say, anything's possible! Shout out to KG, baby. The Canucks have been struggling to find consistency and are 1 point out of the West's second wildcard spot with the conference's 9th best point percentage. That, too, has opened the door to the possibility of some in-season roster turnover, with Jim Rutherford and his active trade history overlooking everything from the president of hockey operations chair. So essentially, the very first name that is listed on Kypreos' trade board, Elias Pettersson, is here because he doesn't have trade protection, and they're still going off of that Ian McIntyre quote, how anything is possible, as well as the fact that the Canucks are in a pretty tough spot right now in the lineup. Now if you go over to the second name, it is JT Miller. If the Canucks make a massive and surprising move, Pettersson isn't the only candidate who could be in the middle of it. Miller, the team's other top 6 center, is also in the mix. 5 years older, $3.6 million cheaper, and with 2 fewer years left in his contract than Petey, Miller was Vancouver's scoring leader last season but has fallen off that 103-point pace. What complicates this move more than Pettersson's is that Miller does have a full no-movement clause, and in complete control of his destiny. While it may be easier to move either, or both, of Miller and Pettersson in the offseason, it's not impossible something could happen before March 7th. If it does, keep an eye on New Jersey for either player. They have the assets and the player pieces the Canucks could find attractive, and at the moment are on track to have about $7.469 million in deadline day cap space, according to Puckpedia. And so Kypreos lays the bomb here. New Jersey for Pettersson or Miller? You know what? I love it. I love it, because give me a Hughes, bro, in exchange. Give me a Luke Hughes. Give me a Jack Hughes. If the Canucks have to trade away Pettersson and, let's say, a Villander, or Pettersson and another asset, get us Jack, baby. I have no doubt that if Jack Hughes or Luke Hughes or any of the Hugheses come over to Vancouver, then Quinn will be enticed to stay. This will not be Miller's team. This won't be Pettersson's team. This will be the Hughes' team in the same way that it was the Sedin's team for so many years. This is an opportunity. And I said it in the video earlier in today's show. I don't really know if New Jersey necessarily needs a top-line center like a Miller or a Pettersson. They could use a depth center. They could use a guy like Jake Evans to add on some extra power on their PK. Some guys that could help out with their depth. But they don't necessarily need a top-line guy. However, if you're trading away Jack Hughes, if you're trading away somebody else near the top of that lineup, you could only get a good top-of-the-lineup player coming back. So I really do bite. I'm biting on this one. I'm sorry, guys. Anytime New Jersey gets mentioned in some sort of a trade idea with Vancouver, and if it involves a super incredible Canucks asset, then I want to see some super incredible New Jersey value coming back to Van City, baby, and that is Jack Hughes, or Luke Hughes, or both. Kypreos does say it's probably easier to trade away a Miller or a Petey at the offseason period instead of at the trade deadline, but still, it is interesting to talk about. Now, let's dive into the rest of this article, because if you scroll by some of the other names, you go by Rantanen, Natchez, Marchand, Seth Jones, Mika Zibanejad, and Dylan Cousins, you find yourselves Nick Kypreos writing about Boeser. Oh boy. There are some teams that will look at their pending UFAs as own rentals they need to chase a Stanley Cup with. But at this point, the Canucks are battling for the second wildcard spot, a far cry from last season's division-winning squad when everything fell just right. Make no mistake, the Canucks like their team overall, but they don't feel they're in a position to rent their own player this season, which makes it far more likely than not that Boeser gets traded before the deadline. Kiefer Sherwood's arrival and fit as a top-line player with sandpaper to his game and a productive 13 goals in 43 games, which is third of the Canucks, is a huge plus that can help absorb the loss of Boeser, who has 15 goals in 36 games. Now, I don't know where the scoop is here, other than Kypreos just writing, oh yeah, because the Canucks are kind of whack. They're not doing really well this season. They now have a higher chance of trading Boeser away. He doesn't label a team, but he does say that Kiefer Sherwood can go out there and replace some of the star power there. And I gotta say, I don't think so. I think that Kiefer Sherwood is more or less what he is at this point. Boeser is a lot better, I'd say, at scoring goals. Boeser had 40 last season. This year, if he continues this full pace over 82 games, then he would have been on pace for a 30-plus goal year, which would have been great. Still a decline from last season, but I don't think Kiefer Sherwood is a guy who will ever hit 30 or 35 or 40 like Brock has. Kiefer, I think, rounds out more as a 20-25 goal scorer in a prime season, and I don't necessarily know that if you just take out Boeser, it's like, okay, we can take out Boeser because we have Sherwood, and we can give Sherwood that spot with Miller, and he can have all this production, and he can have the one-timer. We always knew that Sherwood had a shot. That was one of the bigger things that was on his scouting report from Nashville fans when Sherwood was signed by Vancouver last offseason. Hey, this guy has a really underrated goal-scoring ability, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, hey, he's doing really well in that respect, so good on him. But is he a Brock Boeser type goal scorer? I'd say probably not at this point. Anyways, if we dive into the likelihood that he gets sent away, Brock does, that is, I don't know. It's really dependent on whether or not the Vancouver Canucks would see value in bringing him back and whatever dollar amount there is that could be agreed upon. Is it possible for the Canucks and Brock Boeser to settle on any sort of a deal? I'm not too sure. At this point, at least, if Brock Boeser looks at Miller and he looks at Petey and says, hey, like, look, Miller's making 8, Elias Pettersson's making 11, why can't Brock make 7.5? If any of those questions start coming up, then I think we will be in for a little bit of a show as to whether or not Brock Boeser and his career will continue with Vancouver. But of course, we have until the trade deadline to figure things out and see if that's actually going to come down. So, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Nick Kypreos' trade update in regards to the Canucks, how Miller and Pettersson could be linked to New Jersey, and how Brock Boeser's name is not immune from these discussions. Thoughts in the comments section. The link is going to be in the description if you want to read this yourself. Also, check out ExpressVPN because they can help you out with some free VPN months. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.